Thank you, Lisa. Hi, everybody. I will go over the Nearpod lesson with you. The way I plan on doing this is through sharing. What I'm going to share right now is what you see on my share screen is the lesson as a teacher. If you are logging in, you're seeing the lesson as a student, okay? So some of the questions, how do you use getting started with Nearpod? Don't know enough to know what to ask is perfectly okay. Um, this page, just so you guys know, I wouldn't share with participants yet because it's kind of the trust for them. It's what they, um, but I'm showing you guys as a teacher too. As a student, in while you're presenting, if you're curious if how it shows them, you can change to student view, which is taking, and it'll show you what they see. So this is what your screen should look like. And then when they go through it, if you want to go through this way, that's fine, but you do not get the same teacher tools as you would do here. Now, if you choose, you can click on any of these answers, and then you can go ahead and share that question with everyone else. So, for example, with Michelle, which is exactly what I was when I first heard Nearpod, I was just like, I don't know enough to ask. So you can share what other people say, and then you can unshare it too, and it brings it back. Welcome to Nearpod 101. This is one of the first slides I like to do with my pre-algebra kids. I also like to remember for them to have their notebooks or something to write with, and that when they're ready, to give me a green check mark. The green check mark is from our system of Blackboard, or I guess you could even see if you're using Zoom with the kids, you can ask them to do that. What do you call it?
Thumbs up, a thumbs up.
Yeah,
They
thank
have
you.
the
The thumbs
reaction.
up, the
Yeah, they have
reactions.
uh-huh.
Thank you. Yeah. You could use the reactions for that when they're ready to go and things like that. And then, but we use Blackboard, so there's a green check. The one thing, and I hope I don't lose you guys, but I'll get it out of the way. There's no interactive Nearpod session where you can log in and the kids all see. You would need a voice version of whatever you need to see to share with them and talk with them like we are now. But you can use this with Google Hangouts, Google Plus, or Google, not Google Plus, Google Classroom, and then that way you could see all of them still reacting, but they're all still looking at Nearpod. One of the plus with Nearpod is that every time I click, everybody who's in this class will click too. All right, so a little bit about my background. I've been teaching for the last 13 years. I have been a cheerleader for ed tech for most of that time. I am a computer geek, but I still use paper. I have taught everything from algebra and computer science. I even taught a semester of PE somewhere in there. This is my first semester at Kava, so I'm also still learning about the distant learning and all that great stuff that we're all doing right now. All right. So, what is your comfort level of Nearpod? So, this is one of those interactive polls that you can have with all your students to kind of see where they're at. So, right now, if you guys can, go ahead and give me your answer on the question. So, one of the things that I don't know if some of you guys new to Nearpod, yes, exactly. One of the things that you will notice with Nearpod and presenting that I had to take care of is the quiet time. It's okay to stay quiet so that they can focus on what they're doing. So then when you're done with this, if I share, you can choose to share what your findings are with the students, or you can share, or you can just kind of say it out loud and see like, okay, so we're kind of a quarter all together with this, okay? So that's how you can show the kids what their information that they did their poll was of. So today we're going to do some tips and tricks. We're going to go over the student view. We're going to do what available tools there are, and then we're also going to look at the teacher view. Vernie, did you get the link? Okay, so some tips and tricks. Make sure you're smiling when you're talking, even when no one can see you. That makes a huge difference on the way your voice sounds and takes that nervousness because I know that we're all nervous with this and we're all new to this. Be patient. Things are not going to go right. Students' internets are slow. Your internet might be slow. Nearpod might be slow. I mean, we just kind of got to go with it. The good part about times right now is we can use this time to experiment, and the kids are like, okay, what you want to give me. They're willing to try anything, and they will give solid feedback to you. You can organize your lessons in Google Slides or PowerPoint. I will show you guys how a quick trick on how to import PowerPoint. And then there are plenty of online resources. Nearpod also has a library of lessons that is populating more and more every day that I have used that to see how they structured it and then structured my own and things like that. So it doesn't hurt to be looking around. So this is an example of my first slide for this. I set this up just like I set it up in PowerPoint. I added all of this together, and then when it came to Nearpod, I just imported the PowerPoint. So Nearpod doesn't look like this fancy, but it's possible to be that fancy. All right, then we went ahead and we go with our objective with the students. Oops. Okay. Now, one thing I liked about Nearpod, and this is why I started using it with Kava, is Nearpod gives you every student their own whiteboard. So if you're in my class, hi 11 of you guys, I love it. If you guys are in the class, the student will only see the background picture that they're writing on, but as a teacher, you can see what they're doing. And you can when I do it, I cheer them on. Great job, Michelle, or great job, Kristen, or Leon tried, kind of check your multiplications. You can kind of see what they're struggling with. Um, at the same time. If they show something inappropriate, you may want to send like a private chat and be like, I can see that. And then once they see that you can see that, to them, it's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, not so much. Now, the thing about this is too, again, you can see everything, but the students can't see everything. So if you have some students that might have the wrong answer, you don't have to show that answer for them, or you don't even have to show their names too. So this kind of gives them a little bit more confidence that other students aren't seeing them. Okay, I'm going to wait for some of you guys to answer some math questions. I apologize, I didn't warn you would be thinking.
Okay, Sophia, we have someone that says their screen is totally gray, and a couple people are saying they can't see. They have gray screens,
Um,
and I don't know if that's a function of Zoom or
I think that might
or
be a
Nearpod.
function of Zoom. Um,
Because
yeah.
I see math problems. Those of you who are saying you can't see, are you logged into Nearpod? Yeah, a couple people are having trouble.
Are they in the live session or the student-led session?
Yeah. Do you guys hear that? Are you in the live session? Someone said live.
So this is what their screen should be.
Yeah. So they're not seeing.
Because I have Ryan here. Oh, okay. So just refresh.
Yeah. Yvonne suggested well, not Yvonne. Someone said,
When I refreshed the screen, all was good.
yeah. I don't know what happened to that person. Anyway, try refreshing the screen.
I have Teresa. Teresa, you're logged in. I have Teresa.
Okay. Yeah, they're all refreshing.
Okay.
Okay, see, we all learned something new there.
And then wrong one. Oh, Teresa. I don't have a second Teresa. Yes, I have Leon. I could see Leon's working. Yes, so it seems like the fix on this is to refresh it. Now, The other thing we can do, and you guys are working nicely, so I really didn't want to do it. The other thing you can do that I just remembered I used to do with my students is I would sometimes move to the next slide and then go back, and that would help with the refresh. Some of my students today, Lisa, were telling me that they got pros at writing with their mouse
Oh, is that
because
what
they've
they're?
been doing it with so long with Kava. Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't have touch screens, huh?
No.
Oh
One of them
wow.
was like, "I'm a pro now." I was like, "Okay."
Oh, I don't know if I
Okay,
could do that.
right? And then Leon did find it. I just want to point, I'm not putting Leon on the space, but if students don't want to write, they can. You can see that he typed it in. I do have some students that typed that in. Um, Drawing area, you can also insert pictures from the internet. So example, if you're like, what's an example of an apple? Or give a picture for the letter A. They can add pictures or they can add words to it. So like an apple or an airplane, things like that. They can add it to that drawing area. And then once they're done, so for example, if they're in progress, you can't share that screen with anybody if they're in progress. But after they submitted it, you can see them and you can share that with everybody else. Now, one of the things you'll notice when you get Nearpod is anything I do to the Nearpod, it cuts people off. So some of you are like, I was still writing. It's fine because that is something that Nearpod does that the kids kind of get a little goofy about. And so what I would tell them is right before I'm like, okay, in 10 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and share some people's work, and I will click it and I'll be like, okay, just a minute.
So it's the equivalent of put your pencils down now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Kind of like put your pencils
Yeah.
down or something, and then, and then like one of the things, because I used it with code.org, and they
Hmm.
had a bunch of websites that the kids would have to go between. And so to keep them on pace with the lesson, I'd be like, all right, I'm ready. I'm like 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I change the website, and then they'd be like, and try
Yeah.
typing really fast. So,
So you have
but
a couple of questions in the
okay.
chat. I'll start with the chat first. Michelle said she wanted to clarify that this is for synchronous learning only. And someone else responded and says they've seen teachers use it asynchronous. So
Yes.
what are your thoughts on that, Sophia?
I do it. I For my classes, I do it both. Okay.
Okay.
Um, the students have their own, um, like they can show it with us, so we do it together, and then they have the student paced version. So the
Hmm.
students can do it on their own. I will get to you guys on that question on the student pace because there's actually a report you can download and see exactly what they've done, which is really nice. And with everything going on, Nearpod actually opened that up to silver teachers too, the free account, and I'll show you guys that right now. So
Okay. And then in the Q&A, Kristen wants to know, where do you get the worksheets from? So did
I
you have
I
those?
got them from the math worksheets that we use.
So are they
That's how I got
yours?
the background. No, they're
Oh, okay.
from, I forget that. What's the math worksheets? But what it is if you're talking about the picture in the background, I use the snipping tool and make it into a picture. And then you can put the picture in the background. Does that kind of answer that question?
I think she just wanted to know where you got the worksheets from. But so those the worksheets with the problems, are those already in Nearpod, or did
Mm-mm.
you?
I
Okay.
use the Google and then I forget what the
Okay.
website is.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you so I guess the answer to that is that they can, wherever they get it, if they create their own worksheet or they're getting them somewhere online or from another program,
Yeah.
they can work in Nearpod. Okay, Mary says she's kind of lost. It says her screen says I'm viewing Sophia's screen. I don't see my name on list of students. So that was Mary Jeffries.
Oh, is she I think Mary's viewing, she would have to do a new browser for Nearpod.
Okay.
Um she's viewing
Yes.
my screen through
through Zoom.
through Zoom.
Okay. So Mary, if you want to go along, you look in the chat and you'll see the link that Sophia put up so that you can join Nearpod, the Nearpod classroom, if you want to, or you can just watch her do it. And then, is that right, Sophia?
Yes.
Join through that link? Okay. And then someone that says, can you put a timer up on the screen? Does it come with a timer?
So every lesson you can add a timer now. I did that with my kids today and they were just like about it, like with a matching pairs. I put like 1 minute and then you can even put up to 10 minutes and they can work on that lesson within that time frame. So yeah, you can add a timer to the activities. So you can't do it, has to be pre-planned too. That's the other thing. So once you get to this and you see all the students, you can go ahead and move them on to the next slide, which will you can set it up to show the answers, and you guys could talk back about it. You can review the skill. You can go through just like a PowerPoint. This all imports like a PowerPoint, and then you can have them do. I think this is a quiz. Yeah, so they can do multiple choice quizzes and you can actually see which ones they have correct and which ones they have wrong. And you can move them on once you put it. And again, yes, you can set this timer for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, depending on the question. Okay. I see you guys answering those questions. And then that's a nice thing. Like today I had one of my students, he walked away. He forgot to tell us he was gone. And it was like, I could see he hadn't done anything. So I was just like, oh, Alejo, where are you? Because I know he's usually responsive. And then he came back. He's like, I left. I forgot to. So you can see them working or who's not working or checked out. All right. And then if you want, you can share this with everybody. And so now that I shared it, you should be able to see how many people got how many correct, how many were incorrect. And then you can also see which questions you got right or wrong. In the student paced version of this, it will give them now the answers to the questions they got wrong. So just note that the Nearpod just did a update on that.
Sophia, though, they can't see each other's scores, can they?
No,
Okay.
just their own. Can you ask people to share their responses to the all panelists? Lisa, did you get there's a question?
Yeah, it was just one of the participants asked that if you put something in the chat, can you make sure you choose all panelists and attendees so everyone can see the comment or the question and the response? Then we can learn from each
Oh,
other.
okay, because we're on the webinar, so now we have that extra all panelists and attendees. When you share with other students, see it. They will see their own responses and then they will see the answers to the overall how many people got what right, not how, who exactly got what wrong and things like that. All right, so this is another nice, fun fill in the blank. I've done this with actual code where they had to fill in the blank with their code. And then I did this with just some easy math. I showed this for you guys. And you can drag and drop these answers in, which is kind of different in a sense to have them something different instead of just multiple choice. This kind of drags and drops the questions and then it tells them how many they got right or how many they got wrong. So when I introduced this to them, I actually introduced like the Ellen game, and they all knew what that was. So there, you can do that. Oh, that's a good question.
Is that the one, since Nearpod shares the answers, does that mean the student who finishes early, asynchronous, can give the answers to the rest of the class?
That's a very good question, and I'm not sure because Nearpod just added, but I can let you know if there's a problem with that. I haven't dived into it. I just kind of turned on. But I don't use Nearpod for assessments. This is more for participation. So that's kind of the gray area with that question. But that's a good
Something to
question.
keep in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on from this. Um, I'm showing you guys, there's a video. I'm not going to show the video, but if you can look at my screen on the Zoom, you'll see that when you're playing this, if you're in a classroom, that you could say this device only so that when you're projecting it, all the students see it at the same time. But if you want, you can, you would like the video to play on all devices. In this case, because we're all distant learning, you would say all devices and then they would control it. Again, they can't go anywhere else on YouTube or anything like that, wherever you got it. But they can turn it on and off and their sound and things like that. Okay. Um, so, and then if you want to like play it for yourself, you can. If you already know it's like 20 seconds, you can do that and then go back. All right. So then you have a finish. Well done. I like to finish them off and then ask them for a poll. So after this, what is your comfort level? I apologize, I went kind of fast through this. Um, but this is like, and kind of like the first and the last exit quote poll. Today, our question was, what is something you learned today? What is something different? Things like that. And we still have a 30 minutes, so don't think you're done with it. I'm not done yet. I have some things that I can show you guys too. Um, Again, once you do that, you can either save this for yourself and not share with them. This is kind of the exit slide for the students. Once they answer this question, they will go ahead and log off. So I wouldn't share this with the class, but I would like to keep these answers down because of the report that you can now use in Nearpod. And I'll show you what this report looks like. One thing I do like about Nearpod and their polls and stuff is you can see how many people or how much, in this case, what percent of people have not answered. Thank you for that. I understand some of you guys with the pretty confused. I have a living document for that Google document to help you and show you guys screenshots and things like that. So on the next slide, I wanted to show you. So this is what a sample of the Nearpod report comes in. This was from our last one-to-one Nearpod 101 session. And you see that it has 19 slides. I mean, that there was total, who what the author was, who was the teacher. And that means is because you can share your Nearpod lessons with other people and they can edit them. What the date was, what the time is. I like that the time is in military time. And then how many students? 62 participated. Of those students, how many actually participated, which is something I'm looking at right now with the Kava students. And then how many got correct answers? So 52% of those got correct answers. Then you can actually filter down the list of how much each person participated and what they participated in and how much, like, was it 100% or 50% of that, things like that. So this comes in handy for me when it, yeah,
Uh,
go ahead.
Sophia, someone mentioned in the chat that they accidentally got logged out, and when they logged back in, it showed them twice on your roster. Is that what always happens, or do you have any suggestions for that? Is that
Um,
a glitch that needs to be worked out still?
yes, if that happens, you can take the other person out. Um, so who is that? So like Megan, I see you're active in one, but
Yeah,
then
that was
not.
Megan.
Yeah, and then not active in this one. I can actually remove that one from the list if it um bothers, like, just something. So yeah, but it keeps them on track still. So if they have their own accounts, it'll keep them logged in. But this one, you don't need they don't need a student account. So, but luckily, if you log in and log off and come back in, you're still on the same page as everyone else. So any questions on this PowerPoint thing? I'm going to show you kind of the back end of it.
No one's put any questions in yet, so I guess we can go
Okay.
on.
All right. So if you guys want this one now, if you guys want to focus, you can focus on the Zoom because I'm going to go over Nearpod itself. Okay, so right now with Nearpod, I do have the gold user account. As you guys could see, I do have the gold user account. The Google No, students do not need their own logins. That's the nice part about that. That's why you kind of want to make sure you have your norms of what students can use and things like that. Um, the gold user account is free for 90 days right now, or I think 6 months actually, especially at times right now. All you have to do is just request it for them and they'll make you your own account for gold user. Um, you can bring Nearpod to your school or district if you want. Okay, so this is what the teacher dashboard looks like. Um, if you go through, you can have sub plans for the sub to get started. I've used that. That's actually kind of nice because the sub can see what they're doing. They don't have to have an account either. And then they could see that. Or if you're co-teaching, they could see where all the students need to be and stuff like that. Um, they have a Nearpod library of lessons. This, like I said, is always getting um, populated more and more. There is an option for free lessons, and there are some paid lessons, which runs about $4.99. But you can see if you're hesitant to pay for one, which is fine, I completely understand. Um, you can still see the whole lesson. Um, and kind of see how they structured it, and then that way you can go ahead and make it your own. Sometimes you just like, what? And then but
Are
once
they
you
good? I mean, what is your, well, you're algebra, those are language arts, but like, are the math ones good? What's your opinion?
I liked them, I just feel like some of them weren't tailored to our site.
Uh,
Does that make
mhm.
sense? Like
Yeah, just
they
like
I
off the
feel
shelf stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, like almost like a textbook where you can't just be like, "Oh, read the textbook and then tailor it." But other than that, they've been really helpful with me on my learning, on my time management. If we all know what that means, like trying to even just get your own focus through it.
yeah.
So you could see how this set the lessons. There's some things that I don't. Oh, this is what I meant. So if this comes up, you could still continue the preview and then it'll go up. And then that way you can kind of see how they did it and things like that. So a lot of my
Mhm.
ideas have come from just even looking at these.
Oh, yeah, you can get ideas and make your own. And
Hmm.
we have a question from Sandra. So students need to be in both Zoom and Nearpod at the same time, or can they close Zoom windows for better bandwidth?
If you want them to hear you, I think you have to have both on.
Okay,
But if you don't have video for everyone, then that also saves with your bandwidth.
right, because there's a way now you guys know in Zoom that you can turn off everyone's cameras and their mics. So you don't use Zoom though, right? You use Blackboard and
We use
Nearpod. Okay,
Blackboard and Nearpod. So the Blackboard is
okay.
where we keep our chat. It's kind of set up. I don't share my screen with them because that takes a lot of bandwidth on Blackboard. So I just have my Nearpod screen, which I shared with you, and the kids all like log in on a different. Now I have some kids who don't go to Nearpod, but they're also the ones that don't participate in class. So they're just kind
Mm,
of logged in and in the
okay,
background and playing video games probably. So you know, that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So back to my library. As you can see, I did buy some lessons because I felt like they were very helpful on what I had to do at the time because we had something that happened and we had to kind of come up with something really fast. So, um, so yeah, it was worth it. Like you said, you just add in your own slides to personalize it. Okay. The other thing is, so you can import from Google Slides. So if you already have Google Slides set up, you can import all the slides from Google Slides. Now, just to bear warn you with this Google Slides, it's not the Nearpod. Um, well, I can show you guys. When you click on the Google Slides, and I'm only sharing this because it freaked me out the first time I did this, is you use Nearpod in Google Slides, and all your tools are to the right. So if you're new to Nearpod, I highly suggest you don't do this because it's a little bit of a of a curve, learning curve. And even for me who's been using Nearpod, I stay away from this. So yeah, so that's kind of how this is. So stay away from that one.
So there's still a couple of questions about, using Nearpod with some other program. Someone said in the Q&A, so if they only need to hear you, then they could sign on Zoom on their phone and then they use their laptop for Nearpod. So
Yeah,
yeah, I guess we
that would
could
be
do
a good
that.
idea. Yeah.
And that's if you're doing, they only need to hear you if they're doing like a synchronous lesson. If you put an assignment up there, they can just go to Nearpod on their own,
Yeah,
right? And
they
then
can go
you'll
to,
get the
and then that's the
report.
unlimited number of kids can go to it, and it still tracks who logs in. So you would still get that report for who, for your live session and your student pay session. So
Yeah.
yeah, so what I do, like for my students with Kava, we always have to record our sessions, but instead of them just sitting there reading the recording, I always do a student paced one and give them that link. So they still have to do the work that they, instead of just kind of sitting there. So.
Mhm. And then Teresa asks, so students do not need their own logins, which you already said no, they
Right.
don't
They
need
do
their own
not need their own
login.
logins.
And then can you use WebEx instead of Blackboard for the voice?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
or whatever program you use, right?
Yeah, because you can also
Yeah,
use Google
whatever.
Hangouts and
Yeah.
yeah. And the
So
nice thing
what?
about this is it will post the link to Google Classroom. So if you're on WebEx, you can be like, go to Google Classrooms and launch today's lessons.
Hmm.
And then
So
this would also give you a report back. So like if you have to report back to the principal or like or someone's parent, you could say, like, well, they're on Nearpod. Well, you can see whether or not that report will show, well, they're only participated, 25% of the time.
hmm.
So,
Okay. So and then chat, you got some more. Megan Ramon, how much do you use Nearpod not live? So do you? I guess.
I'm more of a live person, but I do have one for every lesson that I do with my students, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And
So I
then
always do them at the same time.
okay, so you use it mostly for live synchronous, but
Yeah,
and
but
then
in lieu of them just sitting and watching the class like a fly on the wall, they have to go
mhm,
to Nearpod now.
and
And
do
then that way
something.
it's still student pace. They still have to do the quizzes and all that. And then, like I said, I could see whether or not they did the work. Because
Yeah.
I'm very big on when I teach math that they must take notes and
Hmm.
follow directions because the key to math is just to follow directions and know your
Right.
multiplication. That's the secret to math. So when they
Yes.
come back at me with the same question, I'm like, okay, what did you write down? And then I get them, oh, so they really big on Miss Coria likes her notes. So
Okay.
that's like a running joke.
And then right, and then someone asked, Teresa asked, can I import my own slides to show into Nearpod? Which I think you said yes,
Yes,
right? Hmm.
absolutely. So I will do that. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So this is my 4.1 rational square roots. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you open up a Nearpod and you go to the Nearpod lesson. And then when you go to settings, so first things first, you always want to name them because when I first started Nearpod, I had untitled lesson like 32, but you want to make sure you name them. So this would be a sample PowerPoint. Okay. No, you don't have to do a description, but you do have to pick what grades you're teaching and what subject, or I guess with professional development. This doesn't mean it'll be automatically live to the Nearpod world. It's just the way they keep their Nearpods organized. So now this one, some people tend to stay up here on this add slides section and then you start making slides. What we tend to forget is right here, this drag or drop button down here. If you want to start with a PowerPoint, you can upload your files here. This gives you can import them from Google, you can do Dropbox, and you can do Cloud, OneDrive. So what I would do is do upload from my computer. And then this is, oh, you guys just saw all my pictures. Now, just so you guys know, Nearpod is still in, it's not widescreen. I don't know if that bothers some people, but it's not. So it'll take a while to process. Hopefully, it just doesn't take too long. I will tell you that the Nearpod import will take a while, and it tells you, it's kind of neat. It kind of tells you to stick around or something like that, or go grab a snack. Oh, it says continue editing or taking a brain break. Okay, so this is what it looks like now for Nearpod. Now, these are all your PowerPoint slides. They are pictures. So if you mess up on any of them, you can just delete it, or you can re-import and then delete what you need and things like that. So what I did was, like, for example, this one right here, I'm just going to delete that slide because I'm not going to use it anymore or anything like that. Now, created this, but now let's say you want to add your activities. So I would go through all these slides, but then I want to add an activity. So then once you do that, then you can go to add slide, add activities, and then these are all your open question kind of activities that you can add. Um, the matching pair is here, and then you can match pairs. And then, so this one, last night I was working on this, my matching pairs, and even though it was tedious of finding, you can add text or you can add images, but I did add images, and so I made my card one images, and I got these for a teacher pay teacher. She did some flashcards, so I went ahead and paid for her lesson, and then I screenshotted all of them with the snipping tool. I really like the snipping tool, to make them into actual cards, and then named them appropriately. And then it loads. You can add as many card pairs as you want, and then it loads. And then every student will see this, and then it'll be mixed up as a matching pairs game. And all the students will have different combinations, so they kind of can't copy off of each other. And then you can set a timer to this, like how long do you want this to be, and then you can add it. So what I did for them, since this wasn't really the lesson, I wanted to put a little fire under them, so I gave them 1 minute to match up everything. Now, one of the things about Nearpod when you're doing this, it's going to end up down here. When you have multiple, you're like, where did it go? It doesn't add it where you want it to. So all you have to do is drag and drop, and then it'll shuffle like that. And then let's say you need to you need to add another slide. You can add your content, and you can add a slide. You can do the video, a virtual field trip, audio, things like that, a live stream with Twitter if you guys are working with that. You can add websites. This is what I use for code.org. If you want them to go to a website, add this in their URL. At the URL here, it will force them to go to it, and then it will close out when you're done with them and want them to move on. It brings them back to this. You can add activities. You can do an open-ended question, matching pair quizzes. Just note with Collaborate, it's kind of like the open-ended questions where it's like a board. The only thing is live. It's not as easy to pre-approve the postings and stuff like that. So just to let you know, you can do the postings and stuff.
Couple of questions. They want to know if it works just with PowerPoint or does it work with Google Slide presentations as well?
It does do with Google Slide presentations. You can import it. I would import it. Don't use the Google feature because the tools are that takes a little bit of training. So if you're really new to Nearpod, I wouldn't use their make from a Google Slide option. Okay, so then, yeah, so if you're doing this, you can either do it as create a PDF viewer or individual slides, which is the same thing as the PowerPoint. So the PDF viewer, it's a PDF file. It can do it that way, or you can do individual slides. So if you already have stuff, I can't upload. I have technical difficulty, but yeah, that's how I used to do it too, with Google Slides. And then also know that there is a limit on how big your file is. It doesn't get too big too fast, but if you're curious about space, if you're looking right here, this will show you um, how much space you've used so far and how close you are to getting it to the end. Is there any other questions?
No, no questions.
Okay. So yeah, that's about it with it. like I said, the kids were really they get I've seen a difference in my classes from Blackboard to something like this. And I really like the individual whiteboards. That's why I really like Nearpod is the individual whiteboards, and then I could see them. Because I have a class of 200 kids, so with
Wow.
yeah, the way the new schedule, usually it's about 25, but with
Oh, you're
everything going on.
secondary. Yeah.
hmm
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how you elementary teachers do it. So
You don't have all 200 of them at the same time, though,
right
right?
now,
Okay.
with COVID going on, and because we're technically closed, I do have technically 200 all at the same
Uh,
time, but only about 60 log in.
oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any last minute questions or thoughts? If not,
And then
thank you. Oh, go
and
ahead.
any how-to questions that you guys want, I'm gonna have that Google Live document for you guys if you want to know how to do something. I know I showed it real quick, but is there anything you would like me to include in that document? Okay.
Nothing's coming up. So
All right.
I put the links in the chat, folks, so you can get the recording of this, and it'll take about 48 hours to show up. So just to let you know that. And oops, I think you got one more
And
in the
whiteboards,
chats. Can you
yes.
do whiteboards? Hmm.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
All right, and you got a lot of thank yous. So everyone, thank you for participating. Take care. We'll see you at the next one.
Oh, oh,
Oh, someone
oh.
said they didn't see the link. Okay, Yvonne, I'll put the link up.
Okay.
This is to get the recording. Okay. Yeah, I put them up earlier. I'll do them again. Okay.
Yeah.
www.cta.org/IPD trainings is to get the recording. And then if you need a certificate of participation for whatever reason, you can send your request to ipd@cta.org. Okay, and then Michelle said,
And
what about the
the
Google
Google
Doc?
Doc.
How do they, is that going to be in the, are you
It
sending that to
should.
Karen?
Yeah. I have it though.
Yes, she's going to place it in the chat in just a moment. This
There
is
you
for
go.
the Google link. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, got it. I'll just leave it up there. I won't end the meeting right this sec. But if you have to go, we'll see you. Be safe out there. And thank you again, Sophia.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate your time. All right.
And like I said, you can comment if you need me to show anything on that live one. I can do that too. All right. Thank
Uh,
you.
Bye. I'll stay on for a few minutes in case they need the links.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye,
take care,
guys.
Sophia. Bye.